This is not just another McLaren with a bigger number on the back. This is the end of an era, and McLaren knows it. When the 720S came out in 2017, it ruined supercars for everyone else. It was so fast, so light, so comfortable that Ferrari, Lamborghini, Porsche had to go back to the drawing board. 4 or 6 years, it was a benchmark. You could daily drive it to work, and then do 10.2 seconds quarter mile on a track. But McLaren engineers are not the type to leave things alone, and they looked at the 720S and said we can take 30% of this car and make it completely new. What they made is a McLaren 750S, and they are calling it the lightest and most powerful series production McLaren ever built, and possibly the last pure non-hybrid V8 McLaren supercar ever. So let's really dive into it, because on paper it looks like a facelift, but when you drive it, when you live with it, it's a totally different animal. Under the rear glass, you still have the legendary M840T, a 4.0-liter twin-turbo hot VV8. But don't think they just turned up the boost on a laptop. This engine now has pistons from the 765LT, a triple-layer head gasket from the 765LT to handle higher cylinder pressures, higher flow fuel pumps, a new engine management calibration, and a completely new central X exhaust system made of lightweight stainless steel that is inspired directly by the $1 million McLaren P1 hypercar. That exhaust alone saves 2.2 kilos, and it completely changes the sound. The old 720S sounded good, but a bit muted. This one screams, pops, crackles, and at high RPM it howls like the P1. Power is now 750 horsepower in European spec. That's what name comes from. 740 horsepower in US spec at 7,500 revolutions per minute and 590 pound-feet of torque, 800 newton-meters at 5,500 revolutions per minute. That's an increase of 30 horsepower and 22 pound-feet over the 720S. It might not sound huge, but because the car is lighter and the gearing is shorter, it feels massive. All of that goes only to the rear wheels. No front electric motors, no all-wheel drive to save you. It's pure rear-wheel drive through a 7-speed sequential shift dual-clutch gearbox that has been re-engineered with a shorter final drive ratio. First to third gears are shorter for brutal in-gear acceleration, and shift speeds are even faster. And McLaren added a new function, where if you hold the downshift paddle in sport and track, it will drop to the perfect lowest gear for maximum acceleration. The result is numbers that don't make sense for a rear-wheel drive car on street tires. 0 to 60 miles per hour in 2.7 seconds. 0 to 62 miles per hour, 100 kilometers per hour in 2.8 seconds. 0 to 124 miles per hour, 200 kilometers per hour in 7.2 seconds for the coupe and 7.3 for the Spider. 0 to 186 miles per hour, 300 kilometers per hour in under 20 seconds. Quarter mile in 10.1 seconds for the coupe, 10.3 for the Spider. With a trap speed over 145 miles per hour. Top speed 206 miles per hour, 332 kilometers per hour. And because it's rear-wheel drive, it feels alive, it moves around, it wants you to be a better driver. But McLaren has always said horsepower is cheap, weight is expensive, and weight is what they're obsessed with. Let's talk about weight because this is where the 750S humiliates everyone. A Ferrari 296 GTB hybrid is around 1,470 kilos dry. A Lamborghini Huracan is over 1,500. The 750S Coupe has a lightest dry weight of 1,277 kilos, 2,815 pounds. With all fluids and 90% fuel, DIN curb weight is 1,389 kilos, 3,062 pounds. That's 30 kilos lighter than the 720S, and McLaren claims 193 kilos lighter than its closest competitor. How? They save weight everywhere. The monocage 2S carbon fiber monocoque is unchanged. It's still the strongest, lightest tub in the industry, so strong that the Spider needs 0 additional reinforcement, which is why the Spider only weighs 49 kilos more at 1,438 kilos. But they made the windshield 1.6 kilos lighter with thinner glass. The new instrument cluster display saves 1.8 kilos. The new 10-spoke ultra-lightweight forged wheels are the lightest ever fitted as standard to a series McLaren. They save 13.8 kilos alone over the 720S wheels, and they reduce unsprung mass which improves ride and steering. The new carbon fiber racing seats that are now standard equipment, not an expensive option, save 17.5 kilos, 38.6 pounds over the old electric seats. The new P1 inspired exhaust saves 2.2 kilos. Even the toolkit, the battery, the wiring, every single bracket was looked at. If you want to go crazy, you can spec full exposed carbon fiber body panels, carbon roof, carbon rear wing, carbon ceramic brakes, and super lightweight titanium wheel bolts. And because it's lighter, the suspension can be softer and still control the body better. This is a McLaren secret sauce that no one else can copy properly. The 750S gets PCC3, Proactive Chassis Control 3rd generation. Forget anti-roll bars. McLaren doesn't use them. They use hydraulically cross-linked dampers. When you turn left, the outside right dampers get compressed. That pressure is instantly transferred to push up the inside dampers, keeping the car flat without making the ride harsh. It's active, predictive, reading the road. For the 750S, they made the front springs 3% softer and the rear springs 4% stiffer compared to 720S. They widened the front track by 6 millimeters. That's a quarter inch for more front-end grip and better turn-in. They fitted a faster steering ratio, so the car reacts quicker, and a new electro-hydraulic steering pump from the 765 LT for more feel and feedback. The result is magic. In comfort mode on a bad road, it rides like a GT. It breathes, it absorbs. In sport and track, it sharpens up, stays flat, and gives you confidence that no other supercar gives. And for track guys, there's now a track brake upgrade for the first time on a series McLaren, with carbon ceramics on the Senna and endurance racing cooling ducts that will never fade, lap after lap. Visually, you have to know what to look for, but every change is functional. At the front, the nose is lower. The splitter is bigger and now has a larger surface area. The eye sockets around the headlights are blacked out, new LED headlights with integrated intakes. The side intakes are bigger for better cooling. The rear deck is longer. The rear wing is 20% larger in surface area. It's raised higher for cleaner air, and it has a longer air brake function. It stops the car in a shorter distance. The rear bumper has bigger mesh for heat extraction. The front has new aero channels, and the dihedral doors now have easier entry and exit. The Spider deserves its own moment. It has a one-piece retractable hardtop made of carbon and composite that opens in 11 seconds at speeds up to 31 miles per hour. You can spec it with electrochromic glazed glass. So even with the roof closed, you can press a button and it goes from clear to opaque, giving you a panoramic glass roof that floods the cabin with light. And because the mono cage is so strong, there is no scuttle shake, no wobble. It's just as stiff as a coupe. You lose the coupe's beautiful Gorilla Glass flying buttresses with the engine visible, but you gain the ability to hear that V8 with the roof down, and trust me, you want to hear it. Inside is where McLaren finally listened to owners. The old 720S had that weird folding driver display that disappeared in track mode. Gone. Now you have a proper 8-inch high-resolution driver display mounted on the steering column like in the Artura. It moves with the wheel, always visible, super sharp, with new graphics. The central 8-inch infotainment screen is now faster, higher resolution, with Apple CarPlay as standard, finally, plus USB-A and USB-C ports that can actually fast charge your phone and wireless charging. The biggest fix is the active dynamics controls. On the 720S, they were on the center console. You had to take your hand off the wheel and look down to change handling and powertrain modes. Dangerous. Now, there are two knobs on either side of the driver display, right where your fingers rest. Left side for handling, comfort, sport, track. Right side for powertrain. Same. You can switch on the fly, eyes on the road. And there's a new McLaren control launcher, an MCL button on the dash. That lets you save your favorite setup. So you can save engine and track, suspension and comfort for bumpy canyon roads, aero active, ESC and dynamic, all with one press. You can have two presets. The seats, even though they are carbon racing buckets as standard, are surprisingly comfortable for long drives, and you can still get electric heated and memory sport seats as a no-cost option. You get Nappa leather or Alcantara everywhere. Exposed carbon fiber everywhere you look. Bowers and Wilkins 12-speaker surround sound is actually good, but again, you'll turn it off to listen to the turbos spooling right behind your ears. There's enough space for 2 people and weekend luggage. 150 liters front boot plus rear shelf. What is it like to actually drive? In comfort, you can daily it. The nose lift system lifts the front in 4 seconds to clear speed bumps. The visibility is best in class. You can see out the front. The mirrors are big. The car is narrow compared to a Lumbo. In sport, it wakes up. The exhaust valve opens. The gearbox bangs shifts in 100 milliseconds. The turbo's coming with a punch at 3,000 revolutions per minute and don't stop until 8,500 RPM. The rear axle feels like it's steering the car. It rotates. It begs you to get on power early. In track, with ESC off, it will drift, it will slide, but it's so controllable because it's light, because you can feel what the rear tires are doing through the seat. This is why people say the 750S might be the last great analog supercar, even though it's full of tech. Because after this, everything is hybrid. The Ferrari 296, the new Lamborghini Temerario, the Corvette ZR1 Hybrid, the Porsche 911 Hybrid. They are all heavier, more complex, more filters between you and the machine. The 750S is raw. It's mechanical. It's 1277 kilos. Rear-wheel drive, hydraulic steering, no hybrid, no front axle, just you and that V8. MSO, McLaren Special Operations, will let you go insane. You can have exposed carbon fiber body, custom paints, one-of-one liveries, center seats, titanium exhaust, you name it. But even a standard 750S is special. Pricing starts around $324,000 for the coupe, $345,000 for the Spider in the U.S., plus $5,500 destination, and that mandatory America's accessory pack with battery tender and plate mounts. In the UK, around £275,000. In Europe, around 300,000 euros. Expensive, yes, but compared to a $1 million P1, it's 90% of the thrill. So the question is not, is the 750S fast? We know it's one of the fastest cars ever made. The question is, in 2027, when everything is electric and hybrid and heavy, do you want a last lightweight, screaming V8 McLaren that will ever be built? If the answer is yes, this is it. Let me know below. Would you spec it as a stealth coupe with carbon everything in that glazed engine window, or a loud Spider with that P1 exhaust echoing off tunnels with the roof down? Comment coupe or Spider. And if you want a full detailed shootout between the 750S, the 765LT, and the Ferrari 296 GTB, type shootout in the comments, and I will make that video next. If you enjoyed this deep dive, hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell, because next week I'm driving one. See you then.